Hey, welcome back. Now we've created a Khaimera character, and I've now created a new version of Khaimera for each of the different skins. And so here are the different Khaimera versions, and each of them have their own class, all based off of enemy BP. So I'm going to run you quickly through each of these different skins and tell you exactly what I changed on each one, which is not really much. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop and start off with Khaimera. This is the basic Khaimera skin, and for this one I have set the health and max health to 60 and the base damage to 8. So this is a sort of weaker version of the Khaimera character, and for the health bar, of course, I set it to 60 to match the health, so it's got a small health bar as well. So that is the first Khaimera that I've created based on enemy BP. You can see in class settings, the parent class is enemy BP, and so all of the things here that are in enemy BP we see here in the Khaimera class. We do have the parent begin play and so on. Now, the next version of Khaimera I have is Khaimera Halloween, and this one I have the mesh set to Khaimera Halloween, and for the health I have 80 and base damage is 12, so this does a little bit less damage. It's still pretty weak, but it's a little stronger than the regular Khaimera. The health bar matches that. For all of these, I kept the same size and capsule height, so the dimensions are the same. I didn't alter the max walk speed or anything like that. I only altered the health, base damage, and health bar width. For Khaimera Snake Killer, I have a health of 100 and base damage of 18, so it's yet a little bit more powerful, and you can see that this is a pretty cool looking Khaimera here. It's got snake skin, it looks really mean. Next I have the Khaimera Bengal, which looks like a Bengal tiger, and for this one I gave it health of 120 and base damage of 25. Next I have Khaimera White Tiger, and for this one I gave it a health of 160 and base damage of 30. And finally, we have Khaimera Grux Pelt, which is pretty sweet. It looks like this Khaimera has killed a Grux and cut off its skin and used it as a hood, which is kind of messed up. But for this one, I gave it health of 200 and base damage of 45. So this one's actually quite a bit more powerful. Now, I have all of these. There are 6 total, and so they all basically behave the same way as the enemy BP. They use the same behavior tree, and they just have their own animations. So we now have a pretty good arsenal of enemies that we can use here in our game. So it's looking good. Now, another thing to keep in mind is now that we're using a different mesh other than Grux, our code depends on a few things. For one, if you look in the Khaimera blueprint, there's a fname variable called headbone, and by default it's set to head lowercase. Now, we need to make sure that the Khaimera skeleton has the same name for its head bone. Now, I already checked, but just to do it here with you, I'm going to go back into the Paragon Khaimera, all the way into the Meshes folder. Here's the Khaimera skeleton, and if you search for head, you'll see that the head bone is head with lowercase. Now, you do also want to make sure that all the skins are using these Khaimera extents in Khaimera Sil Shadow for the physics assets. And here in the physics asset, you'll see that we also have our head for the capsule component. This is what line traces are going to hit for headshots. And if we want to just go ahead and play test this, I'm going to right click and play from here, and I'll just go ahead and shoot a couple of these and see if we get headshots. Yep, we get some headshots. Oh, looks like I aggroed this big guy. Oh, and I fell off. But it's looking like everything's working just fine, and we now have a ton of enemies to use in our level designs. So that's pretty exciting. And also, you know that you can import more assets and create all of the different anim montages and animation blueprints that you need in order to create more enemies. Okay, that's going to conclude this video. I'll see you in the next video.